What's going on, everybody? You see a Jaguar back here with GenJag.com, and I'm finally back with another position preview video. Last weekend I had Jet Central in town. We were basically doing collab videos predicting the NFL playoffs and different NFL award predictions, so check out each of our channels for those videos. But today we are previewing the defensive line because that's what you guys wanted me to do in my poll on Twitter, and this is a really fun position to talk about because the Jaguars are absolutely stacked at the defensive line. So in this video we will discuss. So let's get it.
Last name ever, first name greatest, like a sprained ankle, boy, ain't nothing to play with.
Now, the Jaguars defensive line was highly productive in 2017. They finished out the season with 55 sacks, which was second to Pittsburgh for most in the NFL, and this defense just caused all kinds of craziness. I mean, they were wreaking havoc on all kinds of offenses throughout the season, and really just this defensive line combined with having a couple all-pro cornerbacks and like A.J. Boya and Jalen Ramsey and having a really good group of safeties, they combined for basically to allow the cornerbacks to get a lot of interceptions and also the defensive backs to allow a lot of covered sacks. They really just helped each other out. Now, this defensive line was not built overnight. It was built slowly through both free agency and the draft. Now, there was a lot of money that was dished out in this. You know, when you look at our starting defensive line, you have guys like from the left to right, Yannick Ngakoue, Malik Jackson, Marcel Darius, Calais Campbell. You know, three of those four guys were big money free agent signings. I mean, Marcel Darius wasn't a free agency signing. He was more of a trade, but it was a trade where it was essentially a salary dump where we adopted his big contract from the Buffalo Bills. And last offseason, we also paid Avery Jones, who is a backup to Marcel Darius at that nose tackle position. But this defensive line was also built through the draft. There were two different first-round picks selected between Dante Fowler Jr. with the 3rd overall pick in 2015. And then we also, in our most recent draft, got Taven Brian, a pick that came out of nowhere. But it was really a pick that was just making the rich richer as, you know, we picked up another stud along the defensive line. And also in the draft, we had 2 third-round picks that we invested in Yannick Ngakoue in 2016, who has been absolutely insanely, ridiculously good. You can't use enough adjectives to describe him. And you also had, in the most recent draft, in 2017, I should say, and Dewan Smoot. So this defensive line was built over the course of about 3 years, and it has come together extremely nicely. Now, when you look at the starting defensive line between, Yannick Ngakoue, Malik Jackson, Marcel Darius, Calais Campbell, you have 3 players that are just now coming off of a Pro Bowl season in 2017, and you have 2 All-Pros in Malik Jackson and Calais Campbell. Now, Yannick Ngakoue, he's coming off of a 12-sack season. He's very good at sacking the quarterback and also strip sacking the quarterbacks. He had 10 total strip sacks over the course of the last 2 seasons, which is just crazy. And then you also have guys like Calais Campbell, who came off of his best season in the NFL, having 14.5 sacks, and that was a lot contributed to the fact that he is really built to play in a 4-3 defense as opposed to on the Arizona Cardinals where he was playing more of a outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. Now, Calais Campbell is huge off the field as well when it comes to just his leadership ability, his ability to motivate others, and just to be a voice in the locker room. I mean, when you saw post-game videos, it was him that was pumping up the scene saying, we won today, but we got to focus on the next day. Winning has to become a standard of this team, and really just Calais Campbell's impact on the team just can't be underestimated. And then you go to the interior of the defensive line, Malik Jackson, he got paid fat in 2016, essentially signing he got signed in 2016, basically signing a $90 million deal, and he didn't get fat and happy. He wasn't like an Albert Hainsworth where he got paid and then just sat on his fat ass and didn't do anything. He's a guy that's actually coming off his best year of his career, basically coming off of an 8-sack season, and 8 sacks is kind of a lot for a defensive tackle. Usually we were just dying to have a defensive end get 8 sacks for us, but he came off of a season where he got that many sacks. And then Marcel Darius was huge for us when it comes to his impact in the run game. We were one of the worst defenses when it comes to defending the run before we acquired him via a trade with the Buffalo Bills. And then he turned into a really, really good player for us. And hopefully this whole suspension thing, not suspension, but, you know, he's got a couple of assault, like sexual assault charges or something like that out there for him. So hopefully that clears up and he was in fact innocent for it, because you know, his impact on the team will be missed if we don't have him. And then you also go to our backup defensive line. Our backup defensive line is better than a lot of starting defensive lines in the NFL. I mean, it's ridiculous. We have Dante Fowler Jr., recent first-round pick Taven Brian, Avery Jones, and Dawuane Smoot. You know, Dante Fowler Jr., there was big news this offseason that the Jaguars did decline to not pay his, like, fifth-year option. So he is set to become a free agent this coming offseason. So he has all the motivation to really be great this season, because it will result in a big contract for him. He's coming off of an 8-sack season, and he added on 3 in the postseason after Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue got injured. And really, 8 sacks is tremendous production, being that he is basically a third down specialist. You know, he's not on the field all that much. It's Yannick Ngakoue that's starting in that spot. So really on third down, when he comes in there and you pair up Yannick Ngakoue at one end, Dante Fowler Jr. on one end, that is a lethal set of defensive end, just fast guys to really have in there to be impact third down players that can get pressure on a quarterback. And you also move inside to Taven Brian. Now, Taven Brian has been taking some snaps at strong side defensive end, so you might be seeing him switch out at like defensive tackle, strong side defensive end. But obviously the Jaguars coaching staff thinks highly of this guy, or else they wouldn't have picked him in the first round of this draft. And Taven Brian is a guy that got drafted off a lot of potential. They liked what they saw on his film, and they think he's a guy that will be better in the NFL than he was in college, much like a J.J. Watt kind of player. You know, Avery Jones signed a big contract last offseason. We'll see, like, he got kind of replaced by Darius in a lineup this season, so, you know, we kind of look for a step up in his play, but he was pretty good in there when being called upon. And also Dawuane Smoot. Dawuane Smoot, he's coming to his second year as an NFL pro, and defensive ends and really make a big impact, a big jump from year 1 to year 2. You know, year 1 they're just kind of learning different technique kind of stuff, and Dawuane Smoot, I mean, if you follow him on YouTube, it really looks like he is set to have like a big year. I hope to see him be able to sub in for Calais Campbell a little bit more, because you saw Calais Campbell toward the end of the season, especially in that AFC Championship game. It almost seemed like he was a little bit worn out, and you know, he obviously got injured that game, so it'd be nice to be able to rotate Dawuane Smoot in there a little bit more for Calais Campbell, so you know, Calais Campbell has fresh legs. And really, just this defensive line is so good, not only because the starting line is so good, but also because they have fantastic depth. Depth is huge at the defensive line, just because you need fresh legs to be able to cycle in and out of there. It's not like the offensive line where you're going to have the same player start the whole game. You need these guys to come in with high motors to be able to really stress offensive linemen, and that's really what, you know, this defensive line is able to do. You know, they have really like 8 guys that you can really cycle in and out of there that you should feel comfortable that can go in there and really make an impact. Now, a big question with the defensive line is, are they going to keep 9 defensive linemen or 10 defensive linemen? Now, you're going to have a real battle in the interior of the line between guys like Michael Bennett and Eli Ankou. Yes, Michael Bennett is still on a team. He was drafted in, I believe, the 5th or the 6th round of the 2015 draft, but he's been kind of hiding on the IR a little bit, so we'll kind of see what happens with him if he can make the team. But also, you know, Eli Ankou, we claimed him off of waivers last season from the Houston Texans, so he was able to kind of sub in there a little bit, but mostly he was a game day scratch after we required Marcel Darius. But, you know, also at the defensive end positions, you have Lorente McCray. Lorente McCray gets listed as a linebacker a lot of times, but I've really only seen him play defensive end. He's been in there at defensive end at times when it comes to cycling in at the very end of games if like guys kind of need breathers or like kind of way ahead. But, you know, he's mainly on the team to make special teams impact. He signed a deal with almost like $4 million guaranteed. So, you know, it's a lot of guaranteed money. The Jaguars put a lot of emphasis on special teams, making sure that unit is good with like Joe DeCamillis as a special teams coordinator. Obviously, we had some blunders that cost us last year, especially in that Rams game. So special teams is really a big part of the team. And you also have a guy like Carroll Phillips. He's a second-year player out of the University of Illinois. He actually played with DeJuan Smoot back over there, and he'll be battling for a roster spot too. So we'll see what happens with that. But my grade for the defensive line for the Jaguars is an A+. This is just an excellent unit, man. Like I said, not only is your starting defensive line fantastic with 3 Pro Bowl players, like 2 All-Pro players, an emerging player like Yannick Ngakoue, who could become like the best pass rushing defensive end out there in the NFL, but you also have just tremendous depth on this team. And if you have guys like Dante Fowler Jr., you know, Taven Brian, a first-round pick, being able to be like backups, it's huge. And like NFL teams would kill to have this line. I think it's the best defensive line in the NFL, and I give this unit an A+. So yeah, that's my review of the Jaguars defensive line. Let me know what you guys think of the unit in the comment section down below, and who you guys think is going to be leading this team in sacks in 2018. So that is my video. Thank you guys for watching. This is UCF Jaguar with JinJ.com, and we out.